Welcome to Expert Profiles Atlanta, where Atlanta's influencers and innovators share strategies for overcoming obstacles and achieving success in business and life. Here's your host, best-selling author and Atlanta influencer, Neil Howe.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, and today my special guest is James Ball. He is the founder of Atlanta SEO Pro, and he helps small to medium-sized businesses to be found online using strategies and tools developed over his decades of experience. James is known for his expertise and success with digital, inbound, SEM, social media, and hyper-local marketing tactics, and his skill with search engine optimization. He has achieved widespread respect and notoriety among his industry peers and clients as a skilled marketing practitioner, and James is passionate about teaching others the things that he has learned while perusing his passion to help small businesses succeed. Well, welcome to the show, James.
Thank you, Neil. It's a very big pleasure and an opportunity for me to be here. I thank you for inviting me.
Definitely. Well, let's get to hear a little bit more about you and your background, but ultimately, what kind of clients do you help?
Well, I say small to medium-sized businesses, and that means typically small mom-and-pop brick-and-mortar individuals who don't have large marketing budgets, but still have a need to be found, especially when there are larger marketplaces. A typical town with a Walmart, for example, the local deli, the local craft store, the local hardware store, they don't have the opportunity or the budget of some of the larger retailers. And so helping them to be found in their local community and building up rapport with an audience, a local audience, and therefore traffic, more eyeballs. And again, that rapport so that people patronize their local business.
Right, and that's very important because the local business, the small business, is really what makes this country function. They are the ones that pull in the greatest money, and the taxes that they pay really go back into the local communities and keep everything going. So it's important that these local businesses are extremely successful. So talk to me about some of the issues that they're having. You talked about, some big box stores like Walmart coming in with massive budgets. Is that something that they're always fighting against?
I think they're always fighting against spending money on their advertising and marketing because over the course of their career or their history in business, it's not necessarily that there are too many people out there that are dishonest or charlatan, but there are too many choices. Google calls every day. Somebody, from an Indian SEO company trying to sell you backlinks will call you. Somebody calls or emails every day, and it's extremely hard to find out where to put what little hard-earned money you can into your advertising and marketing budget to actually move a needle and gain some leverage with that. And most people have spent untold tens of thousands of dollars sometimes and not gotten any results.
Yes, that's definitely a struggle. My wife used to own a small business here in Atlanta, a cleaning company, and you get more phone calls almost from marketers than you do from clients. It's nonstop. So how do these local business owners decide who it is that they go to?
Well, for us, and this is probably my third full-fledged digital marketing company that I've built in the last decade. And for myself, we try to be extremely available, extremely candid. We try to educate along the way, and we're just very conversational in that we talk to our clients once a week at least, if not more. The person who's assigned to their account manager, if you will, is the person who carries every bit of the responsibility and the relationship with that client. And I hire people based on their personalities and characteristics. They're the types of people who are passionate about what they do for a living, the writing that they do, the content that they write. They've usually been through college for either writing and or marketing, and they've been a part of corporate America and some of the agencies. Most of them go through 2-year cycles from agency to agency, and they feel that they're a cog in a machine, and that they don't really feel the results of their hard work. They don't get to have that personal relationship with the client, and they don't get to see the needle actually moving and knowing and feeling that they are making a difference. And so those are the types of people that I hire that want to have that close relationship and want to actually do work that matters, and to see and feel those results in both the conversations with the client and through the data that we collect.
Mm. And that's important because, not only is it keeping your staff motivated to work with your clients, but to have that constant touch for the client is something that, says, okay, I know this company cares about me. They're always calling me, let me know what's going on, or asking me for stuff that I need to produce. So that relationship building is extremely important. And that's something that seems to, that's what they do. They build relationships in their local business. So how have things changed from that word of mouth advertising that, for decades has been, the best, to, that's moved to online marketing? Are the local businesses catching up now and really getting themselves out there on the local platform?
I think with social media over the past 10, 15 years, it was a buzzword and it was all the hype, and every small business in America went to the Twitter 101 after hours classes at their local chamber at least 10 times before they even figured out what and why and how to use Twitter. They've always been interested, but lately, I think social media is so mainstream, even with our children, with Snapchat. Instagram is doing a great job. I think businesses are finding out that it does truly make a difference to go out and to be participatory in social media, conversational, to be transparent, to share little parts of their business or their own personal lives where these two intermingle, and building relationships through various and sundry different social media channels. So it's social media, but it is marketing. It is building trust. People do business with people that they like, that they know, and that they trust. And the social media channels, especially like Instagram, where you get to tell a story. They actually have a stories feature, and just a story in images. It's quick. It's easy to digest. As a consumer, you don't feel sold to. I think small businesses have learned not to be so pushy about, hey, hi, I'm on Instagram, buy my crap. They've gotten used to the idea that, that doesn't really float, and that, people will make their own decisions based on the relationship, not you pushing it down their throat.
And how hard is it to get that message across to a local business owner that they've got to spend the time having these conversations online with people? I know once they're in the store or in the office, it's easy to have that conversation with somebody one-on-one. But how do you get them to spend the time to actually sit down and do these kinds of things online?
Well, I think typically it's easy just to show somebody an example of somebody in their own town, somebody that they may know, some other business that they may be a patron of, and show them what they are doing that works on social media, on a channel like Instagram, or with their website or their Facebook page. You can show pretty much, with a little bit of homework before you go to meet with a client, you find out who in town, who shows up in Google first for the thing that they want, who's doing a great job on Facebook, who's doing a great job on Instagram, and finding ways to do that differently and better. That's my job. But to show them those examples of people locally that they know who are doing it both right and wrong, it kind of brings it on home if they weren't already aware.
Mm-hmm. So what works best for a local business right now? Let's have an example of an accountant who, has an office somewhere around town, trying to get business. What works best to actually get people picking up the phone and calling?
Well, obviously, search engine optimization. We named this company. I've named some companies some odd things in the past for different reasons, but this time I went after the actual core of what I wanted, and it was Atlanta, since that's my hometown. I was born and raised here. and SEO, because people understand what it means. They know they need it. They know that if they're invisible on Google, that anybody in their town that searches for that local accountant is not going to see him if he's not, first of all, got a decent website, a mobile responsive website, since everybody's using their phone. It's the scales have tipped. I've watched over the years as people were getting 10, 20, 30% of their traffic from mobile devices to everybody's well over 50, 60 at this point, if not more. And that's how people are searching to find things. So if I'm looking for an accountant and I ask Siri, or I just type it into Google or any place, and I don't see you, pretty quickly, I'm not going to make the call. We're not going to have a conversation. So, and that's the part that I think people are most confused about. SEO makes sense to them. They know that you have to pull, certain levers to make certain things happen. And maybe there's a little bit of pixie dust and magic sprinkled in or something. They don't really understand the full extent of what it is that we do, but they know that certain things can be done on the code of their website. They know that they need to be blogging, telling a story, adding new and fresh content that's relevant to their readers first and foremost, before they even consider what the search engines look for. So valuable content, a great website, and search engine optimization, both on the code, the back end, on-site, off-site, building links, building relationships. They understand that they need it. And again, if you're invisible on Google, you're invisible in your town to anybody that's looking for you. So they accept it, and they're willing to talk about it.
Great. So let's talk about it. What exactly does move the needle in SEO?
Well, before I say that, let me say that it's been 6 or 7 years since I launched a company in Woodstock, Georgia, that was fairly the same principle, in that we completely managed the entire and total web presence of our business clients. And that means we actually wrote the content for them. We have weekly conversations. So we wrote new blog posts and content weekly. We updated all of their social media channels, from Facebook, LinkedIn, whichever channels work the best for them, in our opinion, and after a discussion with them. And we actually do the back end code, the meta code, the titles, descriptions, and keywords for each and every page and post. So we pretty much assume everything in their web presence. And we decided a long time ago that, as you said, there are more small businesses in this country than there are any other types of business. And it is the backbone of this country. And these people are having the hardest time with this digital marketing. And so we started a company, and I'm still on that same trend, that I want to be the manpower, if you will. If you remember back to the labor force called manpower, and they were available to do manual labor. They were manpower. They were the backbone of the building industry for the longest time. And somebody needed to do that for marketing for small businesses. And so I've always strived to be that kind of person, to be that kind of company, to build that kind of company. Now, that said, you've seen over the years, and you do have a background in marketing and SEO. So it was pixie dust and magic back in the day. And that's why a lot of people ended up getting robbed, because anybody could say, hey, I can put you on page 1 of Google, just give me $10,000. And so many people wrote that check, and nothing happened. Sure, a needle may have moved. They might have gone from page 7 or non-existent to page 7, or from page 7 to page 4, but essentially they're still invisible. The company felt good. They made, some strides. They felt good about collecting the $10,000 check, and the poor company did not feel good about writing the $10,000 check, because they don't understand what happened, and that little bit of movement was not what they were after. So we wanted to build relationships, and it used to be sort of mystical, and you didn't know what levers to pull, and you sort of threw up everything against the wall you could. Google doesn't tell you when they make an update. Google doesn't give you a guide. There's no guide that says this is how to rank well in Google search results. There's no expert to tell you. So anybody that calls themselves a professional or an expert and can give you a couple of case studies and sell you over the phone, they were making money, and they were doing very little for these clients. And then it got to be a little bit more precise, in that if you pull lever A, reaction B will happen. So I've always said that at some point, this is going to be a lot less fun, because there's not much magic. There's not as much research, because we know so much now about, if I want a certain effect to happen that I need to pull this lever and I will get that effect. So it's become not rote exactly, because there's always intuition, there's always experience. That's what we bring to the table, because intuition and experience with Google and with the search engines is important. But it's still very personal. So we don't automate things. There's lots of tools out there that people can use themselves, that can pay for. There are companies that automate things for large enterprise companies, because essentially pulling this lever makes this happen. We choose to take a more human approach, and we've always said it takes a human. Things change too fast on the internet. So a human has to have that experience, that intuition, that experience to be able to turn on a dime overnight, in some cases, to be able to help a client to stay afloat, to get ahead of their competitors. And that's the human part that we bring in this relationship with our clients. And so we choose to do things manually through conversations. We use very few automation tools at all. And we still do it the old-fashioned way. We still do the research. We still do the homework. We ponder. We put it on the whiteboard. We discuss amongst ourselves. We discuss it with our clients. And we decide which is the best approach and which channels, which tools to use to get the best desired result.
Yeah, I mean, that is extremely important, having that human aspect. There's so many shortcuts that many SEO companies out there might use, to try and trick the system a little bit. But I think it's been shown over time that just quality content is really what Google is after. Is that right?
I would say so. I mean, the quality content, all of the algorithm updates tend to reflect a movement towards quality, not quantity, but high quality content that's relevant. Google, the algorithms are smart enough, and now artificial intelligence to some degree, both on Facebook and Google, in their marketing algorithms and the way that they approach and meet people and serve their ads. The data they've collected is, I mean, it's unfathomable. I can't even imagine the data that they have, but they know. I don't have to any longer, if I'm a car repair shop, I don't have to mention the word car repair, auto repair, and I don't have to stuff all those keywords into my content and write a blog post every week and make sure that I mention auto repair. Google is smart enough to know that if there's a conversation happening or there's content on a page, that certain words go with the conversation about car repair. If you and I were talking about car repair, we would very seldom mention the word car repair. We would mention certain parts, certain tools, and Google's smart enough, and they have the data to know that a conversation doesn't necessarily have to mention auto repair to be great content and very relevant content about auto repair.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, well, let's talk about hitting that page one of Google, where obviously that's where the majority of the traffic comes from. Above the fold, which is what you see immediately on your computer screen, is the paid advertising and the maps, and then you've got your organic listings. How important is it to be just seen in that area?
well, again, Google Maps, Google My Business, it's changed names from Google Places to several different iterations over the years, but it's now called Google My Business. And even business owners can go in, set up this profile, make sure that they have, fresh and relevant pictures. They even allow you to actually post now. That's fairly new, that you can actually put up a daily post on your Google My Business, which actually shows up in that map pin. Make sure that all the information is correct. It's not that difficult. The thing about Google is you have to empower and sort of encourage your customers and your clients to go to Google and leave a review if they've had a great experience with your business, because it's kind of like Yelp. The guy with the most stars wins.
Right.
They take that very highly into consideration. That's one of the largest factors on the map pins is the number of Google reviews you have, not necessarily the quality score, but actually the number of people who have taken the time to actually log into Google, navigate to your business. And so we always tell businesses that every interaction they have with customers, put up a sign that says, hey, leave us a review on Google, or send a link to your email address, your newsletter once a month. Make sure that occasionally you ask these people, you empower them, you point them to the right location, and you ask them for the reviews. That helps with the map pins. Advertising for some people, I'm mindful of the most cost-effective ways to get on page one of Google without paying for it. But we do manage, very, very, very many Google AdWords accounts. And there are some people that are just not going to do well unless they advertise, and they do spend money on things like Google AdWords. And we help to navigate that as well, because that's another place. Google says it's easy and you can do it yourself, and they'll walk you through it. And I've had people not know that they were doing it wrong until their credit card maxed out, because they didn't set a budget, or they let Google set it for them. And I've seen countless nightmares over the years. So we do manage that for our clients. So it's a pretty easy, effective way to get on page one, is to pay to be on page one. But people in general, I don't look at ads. I mean, when I'm searching for something for myself, clothes for my daughter, I'll go and I'll look for something, and I will take those map pins into consideration. They're hard to avoid. They're the first thing you see. They're visual. They're in a box. They're at the very top of the search results. And so that matters. We try to help clients get as high as they can there. In organic rankings, the one below that, the ones that Google thinks are the most relevant and most valuable, are the ones that they put first, using, again, algorithms we can't possibly understand. So if they say a page is relevant, you can pretty much bet it's relevant. And I tend to go for those top 2 or 3, organic search results. And that's what I try to achieve for my clients, because again, I don't click on ads, because just because you paid to be at the top doesn't necessarily make you the best. And what I want is the best.
Right. So where is the best place to be? Is it on the map, or is it in the, first few organic listings?
I would say both. And typically, if we're doing a great job for our clients, they end up with more than one touch point on page one. We have instances. There was a car wash in Woodstock. There was only 2, hand wash car washes at the time. One was our client, one was not. We didn't run the other guys out of business, but when you looked for a car wash in Woodstock, you found their Facebook page, their Yelp page. They had the top map pin. They had the number 1 organic listing. So out of 10 possible results on that page, they owned like 6 of them. And so that does happen. So.
Well, that is great. Let's talk about, I like to say there's 2 different kinds of searches. There's the research search, which is, a car wash in Woodstock. But, once they've done that search and they get to the front page of Google, then they're doing the kind of comparison search, where you're comparing one company to another company. What kind of things help with conversion once they actually get on the website?
Well, the same things that have always worked still work. I mean, there's calls to action. Again, we defer and default to mobile first in most things, because most people are on a handheld mobile phone device doing these searches. Google is aware of where you are on the planet, because your phone is a GPS device. So if I say, find a car wash near me, Google is going to give me car washes near me. If I look for Chinese food, it's going to give me Chinese restaurants within a certain mileage of where I'm standing. It's not going to give me a restaurant in China. So we all have to be aware that we're carrying around a GPS device and using these tools to search. And again, once you get to the website, if it's mobile responsive, if it looks good on my website, if there are calls to action, if I can't click the phone number and my phone won't dial it, that's frustrating to me. I'm not going to copy and paste it, try to memorize it. It's just simpler just to push a button that says call. So those calls to actions above the fold, scattered out throughout the pages that they land on, asking them to call. What content you do put on the site needs to definitely speak to how you're different and better than your competitors. Sometimes we like to get a little bit out of the box and stay purely personal, and we like to write the way we speak, as opposed to like we're trying to write for a thesaurus or a dictionary. We talk to people in personable human terms that they can understand. People love stories. I mean, stories are the backbone of everything. Telling someone a story, I mean, actually, as you're reading through the story and you can relate to the speaker or to the writer, it actually releases dopamines and things in your brains. And so you become a lot more susceptible to being sold to reacting to that call to action. So stories are great. So, I mean, I don't just, again, want to say, hi, I'm here. My website is beautiful and it's red and here's a button, buy my crap. Again. So a little outside the box and being a little bit more personable, a little bit more conversational, and definitely very human and approachable.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, people do business with people. They don't do business with businesses.
Correct.
So talk to me about some of the misconceptions people might have about SEO, especially, time-wise and budget-wise.
Okay, we've typically SEO and doing business with a vendor like ourselves, a third-party person outside of your company. Typically, these have been sort of expensive and long-term relationships. We've tried to come in at a very reasonable, cost-effective price point, do all the heavy lifting, have the relationship with the client, and do the work that they would do for themselves if they could, they knew how, and they had the time, which most businesses don't. They're very busy people, from the car wash to the accountant to the deli down the street to, major corporations. Everybody's got a job to do, and nobody has time to play around on Instagram and post 3 things and figure out which hashtags work and answer every conversation and like every comment. So those are the kinds of things we take, and it's not that difficult. It does take time, it does take experience, and it does take some skill and some know-how. But these people don't have the time to know how. They didn't get into business being a car wash to learn how to be a professional digital marketer, so they don't want to learn. And so they find somebody that they trust that actually does move the needle and give them results that they can perceive. And they keep that relationship as long, once a month, just like you and me and everybody else, I have to decide, am I going to write this check again this month? Have they done what they said they were going to do? Am I moving up? Is my door swinging and my phone ringing, or is it not? So if that relationship is there, people tend to stay with companies like ours for long periods of time. We do try to educate as much as possible. And if we see that there are internal personnel or that they do have the time and the wherewithal to learn a little about what we do, we try to get it to where we can actually have a short relationship, 6 months to a year with a client, and put them in a better position to understand and do this for themselves. If at all possible, that is what's desirable for me. I don't want people to lean on me and need me as a crutch forever. I mean, this stuff is not rocket science, contrary to what some people will tell you that you cannot do this yourself. You can. We all learned, ourselves. And again, there's no guide, there's no magic school. I mean, I've hired lots of people that come out of digital marketing schools or places. I've hired quite a few people out of Kennesaw, which does have a great marketing program. I think it's a little bit dated because by the time you learn what works, somebody's gone and changed something and it doesn't work any longer.
Right.
So we always have to train our people. As much time as we spend dealing with our customers, facing and talking to our customers and clients, we do that much conversation internally with an everlasting training. It's never over. I mean, we never stop learning. We never have we're never able to turn our backs on what is going on. We all scan and read through, 300 blogs a day from thought and industry leaders, and everything from mobile technology to what Google's doing to what Amazon's doing. I mean, it all matters.
Right. And I think that is extremely important, and maybe one of the things that these local businesses just can't, keep up with. It is changing so often, and they have to have somebody on their side that knows what they're doing in order to get the best results. But the thing I like about SEO is it's really an investment, because you're building the backbone of your business with SEO, and it's self-perpetuating as well. The more you get found online, the more traffic goes to your site, the more Google is going to show your business. So, the more business you're going to get. So I think SEO is definitely a great investment.
Well, I would agree also, because with paid advertising and with certain automation and other vendors and things like that, as soon as you stop paying for your ads, we'll use that as an example, the ad is no longer there. You're no longer on page 1 of Google because you're not paying for the ad. If you are rewarded by Google and you do all the things that are necessary to be on page 1, like you said, it perpetuates more traffic, which perpetuates more signals to Google that you are relevant and valuable, and you continue to stay. So, I mean, there are people that have hired us for 6 months to a year and have reaped the rewards and benefits from good SEO that we did working with that client for years and years before they started to lose position at all. So I mean, it's a good investment, because once you get there, it tends to stay pretty well. It doesn't disappear tomorrow.
And as far as expectations, would you say it's a 6 month to a year commitment to really get to where they need to be for most businesses?
I would say 6 months to a year to gain some real traction and to cover some ground and actually get some really great results. Yeah, 6 months to a year. And again, I tell people all the time that, we'll start with a 6 month contract to make them feel a little bit more comfortable. They're perfectly okay to walk away. Give me 30 days notice. I'm not going to chase after you if you're not happy for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. But within 6 months, and I tell people up front in my initial interview that typically for a business that, for lack of a better term, is dead in the water and they are unfindable and they are invisible, with the work that we do. I mean, we attack it from all sides immediately. We get a contract, we get a new client, we're all over it. We're finding every single possible way to get in and get those needles moved. Mm-hmm. So within most relationships that we have, I tell people I feel pretty confident and comfortable saying, you're going to start to see some things within weeks and within the first month or two. There are things that are going to happen. You're going to pop up in places, you never have been before. And this happens pretty quickly. With effective marketing tactics and a good crew and a good team like ours working for you, the results are not that hard. Again, it would be more difficult to move for someone who's number 7 on page 1 of Google to move up to page 5 would be more difficult than for me to take someone who is completely dead in the water and invisible and actually put them on the map, right, so to speak.
All right, James. Well, I think we got a great deal of content out of you of what works. Let's hear some of your success stories. Can you, not necessarily having to name any names or companies or anything like that, but just give us an example of somebody that's came to you. What kind of position were they in when they first came to you, and what were you able to do for them, and what was the outcome for their business?
Well, I'll give you one that's it's a recent short-term contract, and it was a shipping company, and they only ship to Alaska and Hawaii. You could not find them on Google unless you knew the name of the company and you actually typed in the name of the company. So for all the terms like less than load, LTL, and all the little terms that they needed for shipping, non-refrigerated freight to Alaska and Hawaii, they showed up nowhere. And again, within about 2 months, by going in, optimizing their website, adding the meta information, the titles, keywords, descriptions, rewriting some content, getting them into blogging, social media participation, very quickly, like within 6 weeks, I think, they owned every term that they wanted, and they were on page 1 of Google for everything. And so for them, and we did some remarketing. Remarketing is, when someone actually comes to your website, they pick up a cookie, and I know everybody's been exposed to it. You buy a pair of shoes on Amazon, and then you go to Facebook or anywhere on the web, and you see that pair of shoes haunting you and following you around. We started a campaign for them. So they appeared very quickly to be the only choice. They were all over page 1. Everywhere you went elsewhere, off of the web, off of Google, to your own social media accounts or to read the news, their ad would pop up, and you'd already been to their website, so you were familiar with their name. So it gave the impression, the branding and the awareness was through the roof very quickly. And so again, they're now a player with some very large companies. And so that was very pleasing for everybody involved.
Excellent. It really does make a difference once you start getting seen. I always say the number one problem most companies have, or businesses, especially local businesses, is obscurity. If nobody knows about you, they're not doing business with you. So first things first, they have to know about you. They have to get found. So
yeah, and that's the case with most of the small businesses. Again, you say success stories. We typically don't have anything but success stories. And I'm not just, tooting my own horn, but again, we do have the intuition, the experience, and a great team put together, and we have our own collaboration internally. And so there's so many minds with so many backgrounds. We attack situations, wholeheartedly as a company, even though there's only one account manager that deals with this client. they have the whole team and all of our experience behind them, and we typically win for everybody. I mean, some take longer than others. There's no magic bullet. There's no magic blog post that I can write. If that was the case, I wouldn't be talking to you. I would be a very wealthy person, with my own island somewhere.
Right. Richard Branson.
I actually do a lot of work with a lot of people very close to Richard Branson, and I've still never been invited to the island.
No. Well, your time is coming. Well, James Ball from Atlanta SEO Pro. Thanks very much for spending time with me today. If there is a good way to get in contact with you, give us your contact details, please.
The best way to find anything about our company is just to go to Atlanta SEO.pro. So it's not a .com. We went with the .pro. Atlanta SEO.pro.
Excellent. And phone number?
Well, there's several. The best one is the one that's listed all over, and we do have a call buttons. The best number is 404-692-1683.
Great stuff. Just for people listening that want to hit that phone number right away, it's good to just be able to copy it down if they can. But yes, you can get all those details at Atlanta SEO.pro. Well, James Ball, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. SEO is extremely important to get your business on the map, as it were, and get that phone ringing and the doors swinging. So really enjoyed the conversation. And anybody listening, go to AtlantaSEO.pro and ask James for some help with your business.
All right. Appreciate that.
All right. And to our listening audience, if you like what you hear, hit that like button and share, and we'll see you next time on the show.
Thank you for listening to Expert Profiles Atlanta with Neil Howe. To learn more about the resources in the show or to listen to past episodes, visit expertprofilesatlanta.com.